I think initially when the sculpture was set up here, people were thinking about the significance of the Cold War ending and that the Berlin Wall was down and people could walk freely from both sides of Berlin. And I think then as time went on, people would take the meaning of the breakthrough sculpture in a way as could be applied to many different situations, not just what had happened in Berlin, but other parts of the world, and even in a way in their own lives. Now, this sculpture is made out of 8 pieces of the Berlin Wall, 32 foot in all, and in a way I was trying to portray the idea of freedom because of the wall coming down, and it's hard to do that, to portray an abstract idea. So I thought that using the wall as a barrier, and that's unfreedom. And then I pierced two spaces through the wall in the shape of a man and a woman, and people can go through that. The idea being that it was human beings who got it to such a point, that got things to such a point in Europe, that the Berlin Wall finally came down. And when it did come down, it happened very quickly, very surprising for people to feel suddenly, my goodness, we can go back and forth. So that was the idea of having the spaces. Now I think that today is a different matter, but nowadays, or sometime after this was set up, people would think, and I know it's my intention, that you could walk through from the other side, which is a sort of a grey side, which nobody could get near. You walk through there and you can imagine making your own breakthrough. Whatever it is might be on your mind, that you had to make a change in your life, you could use it in a way as a sort of a jump to give yourself that idea. A little bit the way you can go in those mazes and walk around a maze and in a way sort of meditate or think you're going to change your life if you want to make a fresh start or something. So I think that's one of the things I like about it, that it's interactive, and people, when they go to see it, they do walk through it, because it's almost impossible not to want to do that. When there's a space, you want to walk through it. So that's what I think people could use it for now. But now again, right now, as we are today, in the last year, we thought the Cold War was over and that this sculpture was just a nice piece of history. But now we have another situation where things are getting a bit chilly. I hope we won't get such a Cold War as we had before. Well, it seems a little bit that way, doesn't it? But there's many different troubles in the world, and it would be interesting to know what Mr. Gorbachev would think about the situation today. He came, you see, after the wall was set, the sculpture was set up, Ronald Reagan came and did the dedication on the first anniversary of the Berlin Wall coming down, and that was a big excitement here. And then, about 18 months later, Mikhail Gorbachev came, and that was very exciting too, because we had 2 of the people who had basically made this happen. Ronald Reagan had said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall, and then we had him come, and then we had Gorbachev came, and then later on Margaret Thatcher came. And that was exciting too, because in a way she was one of the people that helped to make it possible for Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev to see that they could even talk. She said to Ronald Reagan, I think Mr. Gorbachev is a man you can do business with. So in a way she was a bit of a link to making it happen. You could say we're talking about 3, like the big 3, Used to be Churchill, Stalin, and Roosevelt. And this time it seemed to be Gorbachev, Thatcher, and Reagan.
Now, of course, when the Berlin Wall existed, it was sort of a physical manifestation of the Iron Curtain that Churchill warned about. What Iron Curtains do you see today, basically facing society today?
Well, we have a very alarming, may not quite be an Iron Curtain, but we do have this development in the Middle East with ISIS, and it's worrying and frightening. We've not seen anything like this, well, for a very long time, and it's quite different from the usual thing we were used to with traditional weapons. I think that there'll be some sort of a friendship again between us and Russia. I think the problem is elsewhere. The real problem is elsewhere. The most serious problem is elsewhere. And what I would say is it's hard to know how to solve the problem, and people would ask me, what would your grandfather say about what's happening with ISIS and the development of these fanatical murderers. But of course one can't imagine what my grandfather would think or would have done or would have said. But I can say that he probably would have seen it coming. He was very good at that. And another thing that he was a master of, which not everybody today is, he knew his geography and he knew his history. And they really are the yin and the yang of each other, and both terribly important, and one affects the other. And so he would certainly have known where all these countries were. He wouldn't have had to look it up on the map. In some cases, he actually put them on the map and drew the lines. So he certainly knew, or he had the background, but what would he have done or said, I can't say.
What do you hope people take away when they see your sculpture outside?
Well, I hope they understand that it's a piece from the real Berlin Wall, which was a barrier for people. It cut across families living on both sides. It was a terrible thing for them, for the people living there, and they should understand that it's about the freedom, and that we should all be able to have our own freedoms. Now, these can come in many ways. It can be a personal freedom that you need, freedom to live your life the way you choose. It could be something more like that somebody's in prison somewhere or not able to travel